had a great conversation, almost like one of those coffee talk conversations. And I learned a lot about more about her personal aspirations than I did, I think, about her actual career. And after sharing with me all those things and sort of what she's looking at in life and how that's kind of channeled where she's going, I said, I got to get you in front of the students, right? You got some good stories and you need to share them. So I don't want to take any more than that away from her because I think the fact that she works for a big company like Fossil is in most ways irrelevant. I think that the fact that she is who she is and is going where she's going is what's relevant, and that's what she's going to share with you. And I think she's actually going to, because there's two chairs up here, I think she's actually might pull some contestants from the audience, and we might get a magic trick or something like that. So,
Pay you later for those compliments. My gosh. Wow, that's amazing. Wow, this is such a cool and surreal opportunity because until I met Brian some months ago in his office, that was the first time that I stepped back on campus since I graduated in 1990. Yes, I'm an old hag. But it's an incredible experience to be here with you all today. And I'll try and keep it brief and short. We don't have death by PowerPoint, thank goodness. But I do have some slides to give you some bullet points of things to think about. And we'll go ahead and get started. So let's see if I can do the clicker thingy. I don't know. It's a new one. Maybe it doesn't work. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead. And if you don't mind, that'd be great. I guess the clicker thing isn't, I just bought it today, so I'm not. All right. Well, I'll just talk briefly about my career journey, not going too much about myself. So the first thing that my career has taken me through is as a result of relationships. Everything has been about relationships. When I did my papers at UNT, I was told to go interview some people from some companies. And back then, they did not have supply chain logistics, nothing, right? And I interviewed a gentleman from International Paper and a lady from J.C. Penney. I got out. Well, let me back up. In the class schedule of classes in my junior year, there was this thing called semester at sea. And I got hooked. I said, I have to figure out a way to do it. I got financial aid and I did a work study program and did the semester at sea in my junior year. Took me around the world for 100 days on a ship and got credits and all of that stuff for it. When I found out when I was on the ship that the ship is leased to an Alaskan cruise company, I said, wait a minute. I mean, I can get back on this ship. I want that job when I get out. So I found out the name of the gentleman who was going to take over the ship from us when we were handing it over and getting off. I waited at the top of the gangway for 6 hours for him to walk on to get his business card and to shake his hand. I'll tell you the rest of the story of that here in a little bit. But fast forward, after college, one of the ladies that I interviewed was from J.C. Penney. I rang her up and said, "Hey, any jobs over there?" "Nope, sorry, but my friend has one." My first job was a sales rep for an international freight forwarder at the time. Then I was calling on my account, Mary Kay. The lady at Mary Kay said, "Hey, we got a job." That's the next step. Then about 6 years after Mary Kay, and back then that was an ASRS, if you all are familiar with that. That's an automated storage and retrieval system facility off of 35 is still there. That was big time back then. Everything robotic, all of that stuff. After 6 years there, I said, I need to spread my wings. There's no more advancement here for me. The lady that I interviewed at J.C. Penney was leaving J.C. Penney, and I took her job. I'm just saying, like, it is crazy, right? It is all about the human beings. And the reason I'm standing here today is because of those relationships. I mean, your wonderful professor, Christian, we had met at one of the CPSM little talks at intralogistics. And then we chatted. And then, I mean, like one thing leads to another, but it's all about people. And one thing you'll also learn in relationships is not just about how you get a job, but once you're in the job, you're not only dealing with the people you're working with in other departments, but I'm not aware of any logistics functions that exist without third-party providers. And those relationships with those third-party providers can make you or break you. They do business with a human being as we do business with a human being. I don't do business with trucks, planes, trains, ships, and automobiles. The people are who I trust to represent the company and to get things done. And when I need a special favor, which I don't call on very often, it's our relationship that makes things happen. So again, relationships are critical in any journey that you take. Next, learning. Find a place where there is good formal training and people that are going to put you under their wing. Thanks to the companies that I've worked with, which have had a ton of leadership and wonderful training programs, is how I got to where I am today. Without that, no way. And it's not all about just online stuff. I was basically put into some tracks, let's say at JCPenney, we were put into some courses with our CEO, and I learned about feedback. Our CEO and our COO give each other feedback once a week to say, hey, what can I do more of? What can I do less of? Learning about how to adapt in environments is really important, and receiving feedback. At Mary Kay, I was crying the first time I received feedback. I mean, I was shattered. What? I'm not perfect? Are you kidding me? This is crazy. I felt like I was doing an excellent job in everything I was doing. But I'm not perfect. I know this now, of course. But back then, I had not learned how to receive feedback. Take it as a gift. People are caring enough about you to tell you something about yourself that you can't see. We can't see everything about ourselves. Next one, and growing. So we grow, of course, through experience. I thought in my career, all I wanted to do was the international stuff because that's the cool stuff. That's the fun stuff. But if you don't gobble up every opportunity you have to diversify your talents and skills, you will be a one-trick pony. And you do not want to be a one-trick pony. Every time somebody gives you an opportunity to take a new role, even if you think it's stupid and you hate it, do it. You don't know, A, until you try it, and B, it's going to round you out long term more than you'll ever know. I was handling the international stuff for Pennies. I was leading that team on the ocean and all that stuff, big, importer and all that stuff. Never wanted to leave, thought I could, live and die there the rest of my life. I got plucked out to start up a fleet of 500 trucks at 13 facilities in 18 months. I didn't know anything about domestic trucking or dedicated fleets, but my boss saw something in me that he believed in. And I was scared out of my mind. I'm like, how am I ever going to do this? I know nothing. Do it. Just embrace the opportunities that you're given because they see something in you that you don't see of yourself. And 18 months later, we had 13 dedicated fleets for all the JCPenney stores around the country. You can learn while you're on the job and fall into it, and your skills are stronger than you probably realize. Let's go to the next thing, landing that job. Everybody wants to land a job, right? How many of you all are currently employed in the career path that you're trying to follow? Okay, cool, awesome, very nice, good job. All right, so you may have or may not have a vision of who you want to be, what kind of job you want to land, all of that kind of stuff. And frankly, the vision is really important. Do not ignore it. And you might even have a vision for something crazy that's not even related, I dare I say, to what you're studying, but it might come back. And stick with that vision. Do not give up on your dreams. There's something in you that is making you want something. And usually, what you want and want to pursue is what you're going to be great at because you're going to not be working ever. You're going to be throwing your heart and soul into it, and it's going to make you happy. You're never really going to be really truly working. So, let me ask you this. So, how many of you have, let's say, feel that You are great at interviewing. Great. Some? Okay. Come on down. You're my next contestant. Come on down. We're gonna check out your interviewing skills. I'm gonna put you on the spot. So this is really good and healthy because also public speaking, whether you feel like you're going to get in front of an audience or not, is not really your priority right now. But having exposure to audiences makes you more confident in your speaking skills in general. You can't screw it up.
Okay.
I promise. Have a seat, sir. All right. We're going to just have a little chit chat. So I currently actually have two roles that are open right now. One is my job. I am interviewing. In fact, I just completed an interview for my replacement because I have announced my retirement to Fossil. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do later. But basically, I'm interviewing for that role. And I also have a second role open for a senior trade compliance manager right now that I'm interviewing for. So if you feel like you would like some interview exposure and experience, I've offered this before. Feel free to contact me after this thing. We'll leave my email and all of that. I am happy to give you some mock interviewing skills. And if you think you're qualified for either of those roles, I'm happy to interview you. So this is like a good thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not like terrible, right?
I'll get the job.
I know, right? I'm just saying. So, I think in the interview process, we always think about, do I know all the answers to the questions, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to know all the answers to the questions. I mean, and nobody expects you to. If you don't know, all you have to do is say, I don't know. It's really simple. You just have to be authentic in yourself, right? So a lot of managers use behavioral interviewing skills, and they really want to see the person and what's behind, the resume, and if they're going to fit in culturally and really work in with a team and work together throughout the company. So I'm so sorry. What is your name?
I'm Terod Shelton.
Tarad?
Terod Shelton.
And is it T-A-R-A?
Terrod.
Oh, Tarad. Okay, great. Thank you for spelling that for me. I appreciate it. Well, it's nice to meet you, Tarad. Thank you for joining for the interview.
Be here.
Awesome. That's so cool. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm currently a senior here at UNT studying supply chain management. With that, I got a couple certifications that's going to lead me to a niche. So my certifications is geographic information systems. That just means advanced visualizations for a particular area. Certified in project management, also certified in commercial leasing and financing. So I'm using all of those to get to my next, which is robotics and supply chain and robotics. On top of that, I like to work out. I'm a gym instructor as well. Yeah.
Keep on, we got to switch the speaker kind of thing. Make sure you can hear it all the way in the back. So tell me a case where you really felt like you were having fun.
Okay. So I was really having fun as a corporate trainer. So every day we would have it was direct sales. So I would have to get my team hyped, not just my team. It'll be an office, and we have an office of 100+ people. So it's a whole lot of rules going on, a whole lot of screaming. It's coffee, and that was a really fun time, mostly to just be in an environment to uplift others and see them go out and hit their goals and come back with some success stories.
That is so cool. That really sounds fun. Gosh, I want to work there. I want that job. That sounds cool. So, can you tell me a time where you really got frustrated? You're like, gosh, this just is a pain in the neck.
Every day of my life. But a time that was really difficult when I was a student. So I had went the untraditional route, and I was a student at Dallas College, Dallas County Community College, and we were rewriting the student government constitution. And with the rewriting of this, it was the board of directors, they wanted to play a big hand in that. So the governing institution, we didn't just have to write policies of operations for students and student leaders as far as creating orgs and things like that, but we also had to create a policy of governance between students engaging with the board of directors, student engaging with administration, and the level of authority that administration would have over the governing body of the students.
And that was frustrating?
Yeah, so that was really frustrating. So the frustrating part was really it was a lot of inputs, right? So it obviously a project like this required a lot of different people, a lot of moving parts. So it was really hearing all of the inputs and putting it on a piece of paper that everyone can agree on.
Yeah, that is tough stuff. Project management is tough because you're bringing a bunch of people together and trying to get everybody to go in the same direction, right? And that's hard. It's not easy. Well, thank you so much, Gerard. It's appreciated. And you did great. And, I think now here's my question, and maybe to the audience too. So, would you like some feedback on that interview? Yeah? You good for it? Okay. So, what I observed in the interviewing process with you is I'm looking for listening skills. So, I'm looking for a clear answer to the question that I'm asking. And I want a pretty concise answer. I want to be able to see how you're communicating and your communication skills to tell a story, but without too much, right? So I noticed that a couple of times you answered the question, but did not answer the question, right? So there's a little bit of an opportunity there. Yeah. You definitely also talked about your skills and qualifications that would have been on your resume. I've already read your resume. When I ask about yourself, now this is different. I mean, I know a lot of people interview very differently. I'm just giving you my perspective that when I ask about yourself, I want to hear more about who you are as a person. And it's interesting to hear a little bit about your personal stuff. You don't have to do personal stuff, but it's you got to really think of like an elevator speech about who Tarot is.
So in the Career Center, they train us on the PPF,
Mhm.
which is present, past, and future.
There you go.
So that's kind
There
of
you go. There you go. Absolutely. Well, hey, give him a round of applause. He was a great, 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 great participant. Yes, sir.
Situation, task, action, result.
I've seen those kinds of things and I've seen the formats that he mentioned. I'm just telling you what I do. And it's a mixture of things, right? But I want to see the human. I want to see who I'm going to be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. What stresses them out? What makes them happy? What kind of things are a good fit for them? And is that the kind of role that they're really going to, succeed in? So there are all of those kinds of techniques and interviewing skills that are very, very valuable. So yeah, I'll get you ratings.
Hey, interviewer,
Mhm.
but I feel like the thing that really stops me is just my upfront nervousness.
It
Like,
happens.
after the conversation gets flowing, I get a lot more comfortable.
Yep.
But how would you feel if you were my interviewer and I come into it and we introduce each other?
Yep.
And then I say, by the way, I'm really excited. I'm really happy
Yep.
for this opportunity, but I just want you to let you know I am a little bit nervous.
Absolutely. That is so authentic. I love it because people can be themselves and not feel like they're putting on a show for me,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And they have the confidence enough in themselves to be themselves. I personally like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Did you have a
What
question?
advice would you give for determining what the interview is actually looking for?
I know. Good question. Yeah. Good luck on that one. I know. It is a crapshoot. You've got to feel your way through it. You don't know that person until you first time meet them. It is so true. That's what I'm saying is this is just me. This is not anybody is not respective to the whole, shebang. It is a hard deal. You got to read your audience, read the room. Sometimes you're gonna have a panel interview. You're trying to deal with like 5 people. It's hard. It's stressful. And it is not easy. to pass that process because everybody's looking for something a little different. So totally agree with you on that for sure. Okay, let's go to the next one. As I mentioned, authenticity. So this is super important whether it makes you land the job or lose the job. Do not be yourself. I mean, be yourself, please, no matter what. If they can't appreciate who you are, you're going to be in the wrong place. It's really simple. You're just not going to be a good fit. And I know it's easier said than done, but I think there's environments where you can feel it and you feel like you're worried about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it naturally, of course, but just be yourself. Long run, you will always be happier with the outcome. I promise you. Let's go to the next one, persistence. So there are times where you're like, man, that is the job. I want it so bad. Perfect. This is exactly what I want. This is hard. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. But I personally have seen that persistence pays over and over and over again. So back to hey, I met the guy coming off the ship and he was taking over the ship in Alaska. I got his business card. Well, come graduation time, I want back on that ship. I started calling him. I started calling him every day. Not one time did he ever answer the phone. Hi, Mr. Ron Valentine. This is Inga again. I'm just calling to see if there's an opportunity on World Explorer Cruises. My number, that kind of thing. And I said, I'll give it 30 days. I called 30 days in a row. He never called me back until the 31st. Fine. Okay, I got the hint. Okay, we got an administrative assistant opening. I'll send you the tickets to Vancouver. If you would go to the next slide. Ta-da! I got a job on the ship. And I guarantee it would have never have happened had that persistence not happened. It is, if you really, really want something bad enough, you will find a way. Now, maybe it wouldn't happen that time, but I would have kept on banging on more doors because I wanted to get back on a ship so bad. And then really that's persistence then. And please don't laugh at my hair because I'm the one on the left with the poofy hair and all that stuff. And then the next level of persistence is now. So as I mentioned, I have turned in my retirement notice to Fossil. I'm still with them today. We're working through the transition until they hire my replacement because a year and a half ago, I started thinking about my future. And I'm thinking, what is life going to look like once I, finish the corporate thing? Because I'm not going to stop. Are you kidding? And so I thought, gosh, I've always been a horse person. I love horses. I was ridden and all that stuff. And I love logistics. I know they fly horses. So I started calling around. I Googled all these companies. All of them were like, nope, 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 nope. This one man said, call me in 2 weeks. Okay, call you in 2 weeks. Ching, I'm in. I called him every 2 weeks for 6 months. And it was just a cordial, sometimes he answered, sometimes the secretary would put me through, sometimes he wouldn't. Hi, it's Inga again. I'm just checking in to see if there's any opportunity. And so finally, after 6 months, he's like, okay, if you want to help, go find me a stable in Texas because they didn't have any presence in Texas. Go find me a stable we can use for quarantine services. I've got a stable now set up in Pilot Point and in Houston. I took my first batch of horses over to Frankfurt about 4 weeks ago. We have another batch coming in next week for a flight at the end of the month. This is my future. Now, it of course does not pay what I'm used to getting in my corporate career, but the savings approach of financially being frugal and not getting into debt has enabled this to happen along with the support of my amazing husband. So, persistence, I've seen it pay over and over and over again. And this is now what I'm going to be doing. I'm the sales and operations director for Texas and the surrounding states for the Alex Nichols agency, which has been flying horses since 1962. So you can do anything. You just got to persist at it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Strategery. Come on, you know that word, right? It's the real deal. Of course, it's not a correct word, but I always think it's funny. So people ask so gosh, how do these big execs, take care of businesses and I'm saying it wrong now too, strategy and all of that stuff. What is that all about? And how do I accomplish that kind of stuff? You can accomplish strategery in your own domain. You don't have to be a CEO of a company to practice this skill. And the more you think about these things, the more you'll be able to contribute and help the team as a whole operate. The first thing people think about is what is important to this company, right? Some people are in retail, so the customer is really important. Some people are in industrial space, so that's a different type of approach. Every company and its supply chain as well are like fingerprints. No two are alike. So the question is what are we focusing on? What is important? And you always, whether you agree with it or not, need to align with that what. Because you've chosen to work there. You made that choice. It's not forced labor. And if you don't like their approach of what they're focusing on, then you probably need to go find another place to go work where you do find an alignment. The next thing behind the what is the why. Well, okay, if we focus on this, why are we doing that? What's the big deal behind that? What is it going to accomplish? What is it going to do? And if you look at most companies' websites, it describes it pretty well. But surprisingly, sometimes those statements out there on the websites and all of that are actually old. Some companies are really good about refreshing it. Some companies are, let's say, let it get stale. So you just got to be careful. And in your interview process, you can ask about how your role can support the company's and say it right, not strategery, the strategy of the company. And that's really you in an interview process, you want to interview the interviewer. You also want to show that you're actually interested in hearing from them and see how aligned they are with the company. And then the next, of course, is the how. Oh, yeah. The why. Oh, that's right. I forgot. So here we have, we have a reference to the why from an old video from Steve Jobs. Let's listen to it.
Why you do things. And the answers you invariably get are, oh, that's just the way it's done. Nobody knows why they do what they do. Nobody thinks about things very deeply in business. That's what I found. I'll give you an example. When we were building our Apple Ones in the garage, we knew exactly what they cost. When we got into a factory in the Apple II days, the accounting had this notion of a standard cost, where you kind of set a standard cost, and then at the end of a quarter, you'd adjust it with variance. I kept asking, well, why do we do this? And the answer was, well, that's just the way it's done. And after about 6 months of digging into this, what I realized was the reason you do it is because you don't really have good enough controls to know how much it costs. So you guess, and then you fix your guess at the end of the quarter. And the reason you don't know how much it costs is because your information systems aren't good enough. So, but nobody said it that way. And so later on, when we designed this automated factory for Macintosh, we were able to get rid of a lot of these antiquated concepts and know exactly what something costs to the second. So in business, a lot of things are, I call it folklore. They're done because they were done yesterday. and the day before. And so what that means is if you're willing to sort of ask a lot of questions and think about things and work really hard, you can learn business pretty fast. It's not the hardest thing in the world. It's not rocket science.
The standard cost practice is used in many companies still today. That is very common when you get into pricing structures of products internally. And that variance that he talked about, seeing it all over the place. Because he's right, most people don't know what something is costing. They have to average things out and then reconcile at the end of the quarter or the year. And that is a common practice. But the asking the why, how many of you all, I want to see how the lean thing is going here. How many of you all have actually done a 5 why? A 5 why? No? Okay. Okay. Take lean, do the 5 why. I'll just check it out because most root causes of issues and problems can be solved with a 5 why tool, among other like the fishbone and that sort of thing. I mean, again, acquire skills, learn things. You've got access to everything out there through the university, through the internet, all of that. Be voracious at an appetite for knowledge. All right, let's go to the next one. And the how. How do we do it? One of the favorite things I love to see in people's skill set is process mapping. I want to see that they've practiced process mapping, the stepping stones of a process from A to Z in a flow map. It's really a very useful tool. And I want to have people that are thinking about the how, not just sitting down at the desk and doing what we have been doing, but challenging the how, saying, hey, what about this? I did hire a new analyst that started last week for the trade compliance team. And she saw something and yesterday on day, I don't know, 6, and she caught something because she had a fresh set of eyes and she had the courage to say something. And she absolutely was spot on. She found something that we need to go fix. And that is what we want in our teams and in our organizations is people that challenge the status quo. All right. Let's go to the next one, technology. I know everybody's like, oh, the technology that's out there. There's so many things that are cool. There's a lot of things, and there's a lot of things evolving. Let's go to the first one. So when you step into any company, I don't know of any company that operates on one system, right? They operate on a host of systems, sometimes hundreds, sometimes thousands, depending on the kind of company you're dealing with. Your challenge to yourself is to adapt. You might be sitting in front of a green screen, and that is real. That would not be a surprise that you're sitting in front of something that looks like, DOS programmed it, and it is, because those programs still exist out there today. We have one. Our warehouse management system is on a green screen because it's a very stable platform, and the ROI of replacing it with something that really doesn't yield a lot of benefit just hasn't come around yet because it's still taking care of the business. There's a lot of companies out there that have this kind of thing. So your job is to adapt to what the company has. If you're really interested in the technology during the interview process, that'd be a great other question to ask. What technologies do you all use in your daily operations? Yes, there are transportation management systems. There's there's warehouse management. There's all sorts of predictive technologies that are out there. Until you get into an IT or a leadership role, you probably will not be able to dictate what systems you're using, right? You're going to be using whatever the company has. Learn it, adapt to it. If you see opportunities to change it or improve it, go for it. If you want to put together a business case for a new one, go for it. But most of the time, it's adaptability. Let's go to the next one. AI. So big thing right now, obviously. I can tell you from my perspective and other leaders of my age range that I talk to, AI is something that sounds great, but I don't know enough about how it's been built. So I'm not sure that I trust, because I need to understand what's underneath the covers and how it's dealing with its information for me to be able to put it into a meaningful practice in my daily work. Do I use ChatGPT sometimes? Yes, I did it actually to prepare for this presentation a little bit, because it actually said 80% of jobs are found through relationships. Well, if ChatGPT said it, then it must be true, right? But I do believe that the AI technology is evolving, and I, as a leader, need to learn and adapt to the new age and not be stuck in the past. But there's an education process that people need with AI. And there has to be a trust factor that says why this tool in AI works versus this tool, and the risks inherent to that. Because if I unleashed an AI tool in my daily operation and it went south with let's say US Customs, I'm not going to be able to tell US Customs that I'm sorry, my AI went south. I can't do that. It's my responsibility. So I have to get educated as a leader. So know the guts behind it when you propose an AI solution, so you can then convincingly say, hey, I understand how this beast works, and this is why we should trust it. That's the important thing. Let's go to the next one. And ROI, as I mentioned before. There's a lot of great systems out there, a lot of great tools, but every business needs a story to tell of why we need to go spend money on it. And a lot of companies will not go and spend money on technology because the storytelling is not strong enough. You don't have a direct either spend savings or a productivity savings. And depending on what kind of leader you have, whether they understand the value, the long-term value of AI, of technology, like Steve Jobs did, I mean, that's like, amazing, right? For a company to have that kind of leader. But you have to have some kind of story that says what's going to get better when we use this tool, and how much is it going to cost? You can't just go buy it and it just plugs in. You have to integrate it with your existing networks. You need people and resources and project teams to usually do that. I mean, there's a lot to new technology, and that's why sometimes there's slow adoption to that technology. And let's keep going. So the last part of what I really want to encourage you all to do is think about how you think. Thinking and the way you think will largely dictate a lot in your life. So let's go to the next one. How many times have you been around somebody that you're like, hey, let's go do this. Hey, let's go. No, or I can't do that. Or, no, that's not possible. Nobody in their business wants someone that is a naysayer. Now, can we do everything? Probably not. But it's how you say it. Can you do it? Maybe not. But you can say in a positive way, let me think about that, or let me get back to you after I give it some consideration. That way you're giving it credibility, but at least have that can-do spirit. And don't be quick to respond when somebody says, hey, I got a problem. Can you do it? No, I can't do it. No way. Stop, slow down. If you need a little bit of time to think, nobody's going to fault you for that. But at least have that, you know what? That's a great idea. Let me get back to you on that. Sometimes it's a matter of time and money that most people don't want to spend, but sometimes it is. You never know. But it's the way you tell that story. Let's go next. Smoke signals. If we look back through times where things have gone wrong, there are usually little puffs of smoke that have occurred that we really just blew right past. I'll give you a story. I don't know if you all have heard of it, but it was the supplier in New Mexico that was supporting both Nokia and Ericsson. There was a lightning strike that hit the plant, and it was the only source of this item and component in both supply chains that occurred. How many of y'all have heard this story? Okay, I'm not boring you. This lightning strike occurred. It was a real story. And no big deal. The power goes out. But what they realize is it caused a little fire in one of the parts of the plant that is not related to where the parts are. But the fire trucks came and sprayed water everywhere and basically destroyed their clean room environment. This plant is weeks from going back up. Only supplier that both Nokia and Ericsson both had on this component. Well, one company calls the people and says, hey, or they get the phone call that says, hey, we had a problem. They do it over the phone. And they go, hey, we're working on it. We're going to get back up soon. We'll let you know. Click. The other company sends out people to the site to physically see what just happened because they understand the risk of this single source of this component. That inspection led to them gobbling up the market from other sources of that component in Asia and the raw materials for those components. The other company waited weeks to finally realize, uh-oh, we have a problem. It had a massive ripple effect. I'm not going to say which one, but it had a massive ripple effect to the earnings release. The whole year was basically shot for that company. But there was the puff of smoke and how people reacted to it. When you see a little something on the news, Baltimore Bridge, right? When that thing happened, you're like, oh, look at that. Oh, wow, that's crazy. Gosh, wait a minute, stop, think. What's going to happen to the supply chains in that area? What about the ship rotations? All of that stuff. It has a huge ripple effect. What about the LA containers that fell overboard yesterday, right? Like, think about this. Stop. Pay attention to the smoke signals. They may seem like little puffs of smoke, but can turn into huge fires. All right. And the next one. So after all is said and done, you've got good paycheck, you've had a great life, all of that stuff. I think when you reflect back, I think the most important thing is making a difference in people's lives. However you do it, whether it's your coworker that's down because of something in their family, whether it's a charity that you're supporting, whether it's, whatever form it takes. But you should constantly be challenging yourself to make a difference in this world. I personally believe, and I don't mean to push my faith on you, but I mean, I'm a Christian, and even if you're not a Christian, it's okay. But I think we're here on this planet to help each other in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's at the end of the day, after you've done all these career things and all these great, wonderful things, I don't think any of it's really going to matter. I think how you helped along the way to friends, family, coworkers, organizations, but we should be making a mark in the world beyond just the paycheck. And I think that's what's most essential to our lives. And really, I have the last picture. So I was asked at Mary Kay to be an elf. And I cherish this picture not because I'm dressed like an elf, because I knew I felt ridiculous at the time. My boss was the Santa Claus. They'd have a Toys for Tots thing every year where they bring the pink Mary Kay trucks and we'd load them up. And it was the photo op of Mary Kay Ash, who is an incredible, incredible human being. And when you find companies that you want to work for, look at how they've been founded and the values in which they're operating under. And it makes a huge difference in the way you are treated as an employee. And I hated to leave Mary Kay when I did because it was one of the best companies. Fossil has been amazing. It's the nicest, kindest company I have ever worked for. But it was an honor to work and let's say have this photo op with Mary Kay Ash. So it was cool. That's it. That's the Dog and Pony Show. Do you guys have questions? Bored you to death? Put you to sleep? Uh-huh. Yeah.
So you're talking about persistence a whole lot.
Talking about persistence.
I received advice from a recruiter just who I had met and was talking with, and they said, you know, stop adding me on LinkedIn, stop messaging me, stop doing.
Well, there's the stalking thing. I mean, when if somebody says stop, I'm gonna back. I'm not gonna be,
Like persistent ever bit you in the butt? Because I would assume it would just end at stop. Okay.
Yeah, I would. If somebody said stop, I would stop.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a stalker kind of thing.
To not be persistent. They say stop.
Yeah, yeah. When they say stop, okay, fine. I'm moving on. But at least until that, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I can speak. So you mentioned, I want to go back to what you're saying, as far as the can do point and, having different forms to overcome the naysaying.
Yes.
I wanted to spin that off when it comes to what if in a situation you are given some responsibility or you accept the responsibility and you realize that you may have been bitten off a little bit too much you can chew. And now you have to go to your leadership, and maybe either request that you withdraw from this new responsibility or you need more support.
So so the question is, if you've bitten off too much so that you can chew, and now you got to go, wait a minute, I can't do all of what I've just signed up for, right? How do you keep that in a can-do spirit? Tell them what you can do. I can do this in this amount of time. If you would like more things done, then which one of those things should I prioritize? So have them make that choice for you. Present the scenario and say, hey, here's my options. You get to pick among my options how you would like me to complete things. Yeah. There's always a way to spin it in a positive way. Yeah. Yes.
Talked about being kind of outgoing and taking on challenges. How would you hedge against kind of being put in the fall guy position and being set up to fail? Because that's certainly a problem that can happen.
It will.
Given an impossible challenge.
It will. It will. And you know what? You can only do so much. Absolutely. It's a very good comment and it's a very legitimate comment. Sometimes people don't have their best interest in heart for you, and you've got to let that go. And you got to move on past that, I believe. I think it's always safe. It's better to take the high road. You won't regret the way you have handled yourself. You cannot control other people no matter how hard you try. It will not work. All you can do is control yourself. And if you take the high road, you'll be able to sleep at night. And regardless of how the cards may fall, you can live with yourself. And that's, I think, the most important. Yep. It's hard. Sometimes things don't work the way you want them to. It's going to happen. These are great, great questions and comments. Thank you all. Anything else? Anyone else? Yes.
When you're looking at those resumes, when you were talking about persistence, did you like it when your participants would send you a thank you letter and
Yeah, I think it's good to do a thank you. Absolutely. I think it's a very courtesy thing to do. What I have noticed is I will not always respond because I'm tempted to give them feedback and I don't want to do that because I'm not sure that they want that. And I've debated, like, should I respond? Shouldn't I? But the thank you notes and the emails are very appreciated because it shows that it mattered to them. And whether it's, an email or a text or anything, thank yous, absolutely. Go and do them all the time. Yeah. It's a nice thing. It's a nice touch kind of deal. Yeah.
So I'm a student that I've done a lot of interviews, and I was I'm appreciative to have received some feedback from some people, and something I've noticed in my personal experience when inside the first and second round interviews, asking some of these more in-depth questions, how does my role impact the larger picture?
Yep.
I've received critical feedback.
I know you're not going to make everybody happy. I think do things that are important to you. So if you think that asking that question is not that important to you, then don't ask it, right? But if you really, really want to know, and it's important to you that if you got the job, that you would want to know what you're stepping into, then, if they can't appreciate that, then that's on them, right? Is the way I look at it. I mean, you're not going to make everybody happy all the time. So All right. Anything else? That's it. Oh, one more. Yes.
On your first point about the importance of connection and human relation and the human element
Yes.
to objects, like you said, you don't have a relationship with a truck, you have a relationship with a person.
That's right.
How do you think AI is going to affect that as it takes over more and more of the direct jobs?
Why, jobs will probably be taken over to some degree by AI, but at the end of the day, the decisions of agreements of who I'm dealing with there will always still be, I mean, how do I say it? I know, if you think about it, just imagine what happened when automation of factories came in the Industrial Revolution, how scared people were, right? It's a transition. And people are always going to have fear when these kinds of things and these changes happen, but we adapt. We're very adaptable. So where we might not be doing the same kind of work, we're going to be doing other work. There's still going to be places for humans, I think.
Specifically on the connection and the
Yeah.
communication, do you think it will change how people connect with each other in any way?
I don't think, to be honest. I mean, I think AI will have its place in taking care of certain things. When I hear about it taking care of things like medicine and, seeing a doctor in person, I don't know, like I think that would be a good idea still to do versus doing an AI doctor kind of thing. But I don't know. I'm like, it's going into unknown territory. I don't know how that's going to be.
I have difficulty even finding a person because they just route it through AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
So getting that first point of contact.
Yeah.
Even like I may jump in on that.
Yep.
Even Amazon, they just straight up said, don't use your garbage resumes. Use
Yeah.
our AI generator that knows you.
Mhm.
Will automatically populate a AI generated resume.
I
and they
know.
want to see that goes through their system.
I know it's all getting into that space.
It's tying into it. So
Definitely different. Definitely different.
Oh yeah, we don't need this anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think we're right on the clock. Yeah. Feel free to holler at me. I think they're going to give you my contact information. If you ever want to connect, I'm always happy and available for anyone. Yeah.
Down your belt.
Thank you.
Thank you.